the fact that this was made it to air, it's just funny. It's just such a funny contradiction.
Well,
and of course, it wasn't corrected either.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
How is this news?
Not that I don't know if she endorses a no-fly zone or not.
No, she doesn't.
But the fact that
Classic Jimmy. I don't want to actually do any research into the things I talk about, especially when I'm doing a call out like this of another very large and prominent, let's just say left-wing progressive figure. But who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I got a story. Democracy Now! Pushes for war and peace in Ukraine. Okay. As a fan of Democracy Now!, I take particular offense to the framing of what I think is about to happen. We'll see. I'll give Jimmy the benefit of the doubt here.
on the irony or the contradiction.
The Odessa National Academic Theater Orchestra performing the Ukrainian national anthem during an outdoor concert this weekend called Free Sky, calling for peace and a no-fly zone. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report.
So I don't know if you caught it. Did you catch what she said? She said there, that's the Odessa. Now, that was the scene of a slaughter of Jews in the 40s, in the early 40s, and also recently Nazis and extreme right-wingers burned people alive inside of a union hall. And when they tried to jump out, they beat them. So that's where Odessa is, and their Odessa choir is singing for free skies, meaning they want a no-fly zone. She said they're singing for peace and a no-fly zone. Now,
Disgusting Ukrainian Nazis singing Jimmy Dore voice. What the fuck? He literally did my joke. Dust Bowl. I like how you're like, I'm gonna see what he does here, and then it happens in real time. And then you're like, wait, whoa, what the hell? He's unironically saying what I was making fun of. Isn't it bizarre how that happens sometimes?
What's the problem with that, Aaron?
If you want peace, then you cannot also be for a no-fly zone, because a no-fly zone also means World War III, and World War III is unfortunately not conducive with peace.
So holy shit, they got jokes. It's edgy. Don't know if you know this, but like nuclear war wouldn't actually be a good thing. Damn. Oh, that's good. I'm going to say that tomorrow on the Jimmy Dore show when I go on, Mom.
When they say a no-fly zone, what they mean is let's start shooting down Russian planes.
I guess I should put a disclaimer here because obviously I want everyone to understand this. I am definitely against the idea, and I'm happy that both the President of the United States, NATO, and even Justin Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, it's so cute that he wanted to play world leader too. He's like, it is with heavy hearts that we as Canadians have to make a heartbreaking decision to not enact a no-fly zone. It's like, oh, Justin, it's not your call. Like, the world is not watching what is Justin Trudeau going to do at any given moment. It's like, holy shit, what's Trudeau? Is Trudeau going to do it? Is he going to start World War III? It's like, Trudeau, you do whatever the U.S. wants you to do most of the time, and in this case, you gotta just follow the lead. That's basically it. You wait for your phone call. That's what you do. You sit down and you wait for your phone call. That's what's going on here. But anyway, I just thought I'd put a disclaimer there that I am obviously not in favor of starting a global conflict and pulling NATO and NATO allies into what would certainly be world war, especially with two major superpowers, nuclear superpowers, battling each other. I have absolutely zero interest in that, so I'm against starting a global war. That being said, y'all are jerk-offs, like just all around smug jerk-offs,
Which that's not call for peace. That's the opposite of a call for peace. That's a call for war. We want peace, but how we get there? You got to go through some war. You got to start shooting some shit down.
A lot of Posadists went mask off as fakers. True. Yeah, what the fuck, Posadists? I don't think any of you are true believers. I think you just like the aesthetics. of Passadism. You're like, I don't really like, the associations with Stalin and the USSR, but I do like the communism aspect. But the whole, I don't know, I kind of want dolphins. It would be nice to have a cute little dolphin as my mascot, and then I could talk about how these, incredibly intelligent space dolphins are going to nuke us into a gay luxury space communism. I mean, in theory, it sounds cartoonishly amazing, but in practice, it probably would result in the end of all life on Earth. So yeah, I guess you can't be that hardcore as a Passadist anymore.
Right? So peace after we shoot some shit down, and of course, Democracy Now! Repeats it. Isn't that kind of heartbreaking?
Well, it is heartbreaking. You know, I worked there for 10 years, so there's plenty of heartbreak for me when it comes to that direction the show is taken. Now, look, I'm sure what happened here was a producer who doesn't realize what a no-fly zone is just wrote that down and put it in a teleprompter.
Wait, did you love that one? But it took a little while for it to settle. Just a fine fart drifting in the wind, and you're like, a couple seconds later. Maybe it's the reading. I don't think delay.
Amy actually advocates a no-fly zone, but the fact that this was made it to air, it's just funny. It's just such a funny contradiction.
Well,
and of course, it wasn't corrected either.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
How is this news?
Not that I don't know if she endorses a no-fly zone or not.
No, she doesn't.
But the fact that
classic Jimmy. I don't want to actually do any research into the things I talk about, especially when I'm doing a call out like this of another very large and prominent, let's just say left-wing progressive figure. But who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I got a story.
She wouldn't correct that. She wouldn't point out the ridiculousness of them singing for peace and for a no-fly zone is a letdown. That, to say the least. So now people watching that aren't getting they're being propagandized.
Yeah. Look, to me, and I'm biased.
They're being propagandized. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I definitely watch Democracy Now! On a daily basis, and I've definitely got the feeling from them that they are pro-war advocates, and they are pushing for numerous wars globally. Doesn't matter what they're talking about. They love the war in Yemen. They love the war in Syria. They loved the war in Afghanistan, as well as Iraq. That's basically been consistently what Democracy Now! Is all about.
Yes, because I used to work there, and before I worked there, I was such a big fan of it. But to me, Democracy Now! Used to represent the best that U.S. media could be, and that it would constantly expose.
Okay, so if you're wondering what's going on here, it's because he's a gray zone clown, and as a gray zone clown, he's unable to process anything other than America bad. Like that's the only worldview filter in which they do everything they do. It's just like 100% America bad. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to be one of the first people, and I do this frequently on my shows, to tell you that America, as the dominant imperial force in the world, is doing the most amount of shitty things. Yes, but that doesn't mean they're the only player in the world and the only one capable of doing shitty things. But that's just the lens through which they see everything,
The manufacturing of consent. Now, on some key issues, not all of them, but on some key issues, it actually is representative of manufacturing consent because it toes the line. It toes the party line, and it does not cross the sound barrier on issues that it used to act.
You're not saying anything real or tangible. These are buzzwords. It doesn't pass the smell test. Whoa. Aaron Maté just said it didn't pass the smell test. Holy shit, we're onto something.
Actually expose. Instead of challenging propaganda, it often parrots it. And I haven't seen everything it's done about Ukraine, but what I'm told is that there's been...
Look, Democracy Now! Is not infallible. Like, nothing is. There is no perfect takes anything for an outlet, okay? They've done some fucked up things, especially, I'll give you an example. Here's a fair call out, and this one is something in which you could say that I have actually observed and done research into, okay? When talking about the situation in Xinjiang, China, they used a very, very shitty source and when they for interviews. I'm talking about Adrian Zenz. Adrian Zenz is an absolute fuckface of the highest order. He should not be platformed anywhere. Do not give Adrian Zenz the time of day, because by doing it, you give ammunition to people who are going to try and discredit you, because immediately they can point it out and be like, Adrian Zenz, boom, boom, falsifiable. This never happened. Whole thing is a lie. Whole thing is a set. It's terrible. It's like if you wanted to talk about something and the person you brought on was Richard Spencer or Marjorie Taylor Greene or someone who just has absolutely no credibility and people will be able to use. Like that's basically what people are doing right now. Like Caleb Maupin is doing that very thing I'm making fun of right now, like platforming Marjorie Taylor Greene. So there's a criticism that I think is a fair criticism. If you are going to talk about that subject, don't bring on someone like that. There you go. That's very different than saying we can clearly observe through this one soundbite that Democracy Now! Is now manufacturing consent, and they're doing it on the behalf of the military-industrial complex because they love war and they love blood, and that's basically all they're about now. It's basically blood now. That's what the show is.
Almost no, or even no mention of all these key issues that are crucial to understanding the war in Ukraine. So, for example, the very fact that this war did not begin with Russia invading, that there's been a war in the Donbass for 8 years of Ukraine with 14,000.
Democracy Now! Has covered that extensively. What the fuck are you talking about? This is not a gotcha. This is not like, which they failed to mention.
1,000 people dead. And the U.S. has played a major role in that, shipping weapons, blocking diplomacy. That has not gone covered.
Democracy Now! A no-fly zone strikes many people as a humanitarian measure or a technical measure. However, implementing one would directly involve the U.S. in the war against Russia. Rather than end the war, a no-fly zone would enlarge the war. Hard to see where they're coming at this from. You know, I don't quite get their angle. Are they pro or anti? However will we know? Unless I bring on Aaron Maté. Truly, he can enlighten us.
Covered on Democracy Now! From what I'm told. Also, the dismantling of arms control treaties for the last 20 years, which has further encircled Russia, put U.S. weapon systems inside Poland and Romania. And of course, most critically, and this is...
None of this justifies the actions of Putin. None of this justifies Russia invading a sovereign country. You can't be like, well, you know, Putin had no choice. All the chess pieces were simply laid out in front of him, and he did the only thing he was able to do. Really, this is America's war. America is solely responsible for everything that's happening right now. And Russia and Putin have no autonomy. Yeah. I mean, it's almost kind of like this weird, bizarre American exceptionalism, but in this way as well. It's like you can't not be wrap your head around consistent and always American exceptionalism, even to the degree that you like remove the agency of other countries and leaders.
The coup of 2014, which we used to cover back on Democracy Now! When I was there, and did, I think, in such an effective way with guests like Stephen Cohen, who later on was banned from appearing on Democracy Now! But so all this critical context is not being given, and the only way you're allowed to be critical now on the question of the war in Ukraine is, was it a good idea or not to expand NATO?
As someone who does water his plants regularly, because I do love plants, I was told by numerous people that the snake plant is the idiot-proof plant. Like there's no way you can have a snake plant and not like have it survive well, because it needs water barely never and doesn't need a lot of sunlight. It's like it's the plant that you can ignore and it'll still thrive as long as you've got a friend who occasionally visits and it's like, oh, you poor babies, and then just like, you know, gives it a little bit of water or some spit.
And yeah, that's an important question to explore, but the issue is so much more than just NATO.
It's
also about a war in the Donbass region of Ukraine that we've been fueling for 8 years with billions of dollars worth of weapons, and we're continuing to fuel now.
Here's what Glenn Greenwald said. He said, even with the utter collapse of Democracy Now! Into MSNBC neoliberalism.
Oh my God. Fuck. Into MSNBC neoliberalism. Do any of you watch the things that you're criticizing? I watch Democracy Now! Every single day. It is a very different spin. Yes, there's a spin, but it's a very different spin than fucking MSNBC. Are you kidding me? Glenn Greenwald?
Liberalism. This is the funniest thing I've seen in a while. It was sadly funny. I don't know. That's big balls for Glenn to say that, because they did freeze him out because he was right about Russiagate, and Democracy Now! Manufactured consent for Russiagate, which is actually manufacturing consent for this war right now. So Democracy Now! Is really...
I love how that's just like it's a buzzword now. It's like it's almost like a new combined verb. Yes, we manufactured consent. Then you manufactured consent. How many times did you manufacture consent while you were manufacturing consent?
Yeah, really doing horrible work. I So they brought him back on recently to talk about Edward Snowden.
Did you forget what you're talking about mid-sentence? What is going on here?
And
well, no, what happened was that was a panel discussion that was like an outside event for a different organization.
Oh,
which
is that
they
what
then
that
just
was?
re-aired on DN. Yeah.
Oh, so he wasn't actually invited on DN.
Yeah.
So even when he came out with his latest book, even after all the great work he did, they still won't, getting Lula out of prison, they still won't bring him back on. And you tell me why that is. You tell me what the F is going on over with.
He won't stop appearing on Tucker Carlson. He's leaning very heavily into this whole trans ideology and radical gender theory shit. It's very yikesy and problematic. He won't admit that Tucker Carlson is a white nationalist. And I guess you wouldn't either, because you also go on the show frequently. Both of you do. This is the person who is mainstreaming white replacement conspiracy theories to the masses. It's not something you can just ignore. You can't say, hey, I don't really know what he's about. I just like having my platform to talk in front of a million people. That is you either willfully or just being like, I don't know, a useful pawn in spreading misinformation there.
Democracy Now! You tell me what's wrong with that. What happened?
I'm not there, so I don't know. What I do know is that they've made some terrible editorial decisions on Russiagate, on Syria. They decided to be all of a sudden a pro-dirty war.
You work for the gray zone. Like fucking glass houses, buddy. What are you talking? I have debunked your articles in real time. They are absurd. They are absolutely ridiculous. Oh, wow.
Or outlets, essentially, freezing out any dissenting voice to the point where in the last appearance on their show, and this is something I'm really is a serious issue for me because he was so important to my intellectual development, and I met him through Democracy Now! And that's Stephen F. Cohen, the late eminent scholar of Russia studies, Princeton, NYU, changed the field of Russian studies. And back in 2014, when the coup happened in Ukraine, while the entire media was manufacturing consent,
the pro-Russian people look ridiculous
policy.
And isolated. I don't know. I don't think they're isolated. I think it's becoming very prominent in conservative circles and clown shoe circles as well. But like Jimmy just hit 1 million subs. It's not as if like this stuff has been hurting him. Ever since he went full anti-vax, he's been seeing a huge surge in his sub count. Ever since he went full like horseshoe theory, like, hey, we need to pal around with the Boogaloo boys and see where we have commonalities between us and unite because we have a common cause. We both hate police, and that's the only thing that I can find. Like ever since then, it's been a boon.
Backing a coup in Ukraine and feel
like this shit sells. Like the reason you're always at a disadvantage, like you're pushing a rock uphill if you are trying to be like someone who's like more interested in I don't know, let's actually like investigate this, let's have a rational discussion, let's find out if there's any nuance to this topic. Okay, it turns out that this is factual, this is not factual, blah blah. It's because that's boring and no one cares. Like everyone's gonna sit there and be like, but if you have someone who's like, you see this, look at Democracy Now, Nazis, Azov Battalion, the gray zone, and then everyone's gonna be like, what? Yeah, I'll just fucking click on that shit. Hell yeah, just pump it right into my veins.
A proxy war. Stephen F. Cohen would come on Democracy Now and just masterfully correct the record. And his last appearance on DN, so that's where I met him. And we kept in touch over the years. And then when I went on to the Real News, I knew he'd been there. And when I went into the Gray Zone, he would still come on. But meanwhile, his last appearance on DN was in April 2017, when he criticized the dirty war on Syria. And after that, for the last 3 years of his life, 3+ years of his life, he was never invited back once.
Matt Leck showed he pretty clearly his numbers were cratering before he went anti-vax. Yeah, anti-vax saved the franchise.
So they froze out the top Russia expert in the US and the person who gave them a lot of credibility for so many years when they were covering Ukraine and Russia. I mean, he was the go-to voice, and he was a voice of sanity. And because he was a voice of sanity on Syria and Russia and Ukraine, because they made an editorial turn, he was frozen out. And that speaks to how powerful our propaganda system was, that because he was demonized and called a Putin apologist and all this stuff, even a top progressive news show that is supposed to be about breaking the sound barrier sold him out too. And that's just
keep saying breaking the sound barrier. Like they think outside the box, or at least they were supposed to. Lately, I feel they've been thinking inside the box. That's the problems I have with democracy now. And of course, they're buying into these narratives, these false narratives, if you will, about Russia, Putin, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the whole democracy now is a big tragedy. Amy Goodman and we used to be on the same radio station, KPFK, and they all turned into a bunch of crazy Russiagators, except for a few people. I was one of them, and she led the charge, right? So,
what are you doing? They keep using the Russiagate smear as a like this has forever tarnished any credibility that this organization has ever done, because in this one instance they took things too far. They took things too far, and let's forever use that. That's like the only currency you're like. Do you realize the amount of power you like ironically are giving to the like I'm with her resist crowd now by acting like complete clowns on this topic? Because like now your takes are just so far off the map in terms of understanding geopolitics that everyone is just like, well, Jesus, like, what are we supposed to do with this?
Pacifica Radio takes their cue from Amy Goodman, and Amy Goodman was giving them shit cues. Her cue was to be just like Rachel Maddow and the military-industrial complex narrative.
Yep, and then the sound barrier will never be broken.
Start another cold war with Russia, which is leading to a hot war, and still won't tell the truth about.
She has entire segments called Voices for Peace, how to not have a global conflict. She has brought on Code Pink. I don't even bring on Code Pink spokesman, right? Like she has brought on Code Pink spokespeople to talk about this issue. She consistently platforms anti-war voices. She's like, this is absurd. It's just absurd. Like, to start accusing Democracy Now! As being some kind of, like, pro-American imperialism, like, these words have no meaning anymore. You, fucking Caleb Maupin, all of you have destroyed the fucking... People had a very loose understanding of imperialism to begin with. Like, there's one section of the left that feels that unless you define it in the way that Lenin defined it, it has no meaning, and you can't talk about it. And we're not allowed to analyze anything from any other lens other than U.S. imperialism bad. That's it. And now we're getting to a point where, holy shit, like, Democracy Now! Is a pro-war imperialist news outlet that is manufacturing consent, that in addition to everything is refusing to destroy the sound barrier. Like, they have no meaning. These words have no meaning. You've destroyed it.
About Syria won't tell. It's just the fact that they aren't embarrassed to all get out that they're being outdone by a pothead comedian in his garage.
Oh my God.
And that I can go.
You love that, like, somehow that gives you power. Well, I'm just a pothead comedian broadcasting out of my garage. Yeah. And yet I was capable of destroying the entire imperial empire that is Democracy Now!
At any moment can point to Mike's coverage of Syria as being way better than theirs. They should be humiliated, but of course they're not, because somewhere this has got to do with money. Somewhere, this isn't Amy Goodman getting it wrong. She's not stupid. This is some kind of corruption somewhere happening.
Hey, just for funsies. Whoa. I'm Jimmy. What's happening?
And I'd like to know what it is. You don't think it is, Aaron? You just think so? You think she's dumb? I think that's more insulting.
No,
you think she's that dumb that she gets Syria wrong, that she doesn't bring on Glenn Greenwald to talk about Russiagate or Stephen F. Cohen, or she ices you out to talk about Syria because she's dumb?
We have this debate often, Jimmy. I know many people agree with you, but to me,
you think she's dumb?
No, I don't. No, of course not.
So you think she's smart?
I have to follow this because I feel like they're having a disagreement now. It's no time for me and silliness. No time for comedy.
Smart, but she's dumb?
I think we have an incredibly powerful propaganda system in which people subconsciously or consciously get the message that if they go there on certain issues, they're going to be outcast. They're not going to be welcomed into the club. And that is very powerful on people. Look at how many people at The Intercept get it wrong, despite having all the money in the world and working at like an ad-free organization. So there's no advertising pressure. Still, everybody toes the party line because some people, I think, are just more concerned with being accepted into mainstream.
People are wondering if that's a Captain America urn or drum. That's Puerto Rico. What are you talking about? In the bottom left corner? That's the flag of Puerto Rico, isn't it? Yeah.
Circles and not being called names like we are. I mean, we're constantly called all the names in the world. and they subconsciously, I think, just don't want to be a part of that, and they want acceptance. So that's what I think it is.
So we missed it because we were a little distracted there, but basically Jimmy Dore and Aaron Maté were fighting because Jimmy's like, why won't you just admit that Amy Goodman is stupid, like she's dumb? And then he was like, it's far worse than that, Jimmy. It's far more insidious. Were it for me, I would love to be able to say that it was simply that, but no. It's actually because of a thing called consent that's been manufactured, and we haven't been able to smash past the sound barrier because of it. And Amy Goodman is part of a larger system, you see. And part of these systems, it's infected her. It's infected her, and now it's controlling her mind and making her a tool of the military-industrial complex. Not like you and me. See, we're not tools. No matter how much everyone says that we're tools, we're not. We're certainly not. Gray zone, it's honest, truthful, factual reporting.
I've worked with many of the people who are still at DN, and they're not corrupt people.
No, I'm not.
They're actually very principled. They're not.
I'm not. I'm talking about Amy Goodman. I'm not talking about.
Okay, so hey, we're getting down to it, and this is never going to work in the way the other ones have worked. By the way, Jimmy Dore manufactures beefs on a more regular basis, I think, than anyone else, like of that level. Like always with the call outs, always with the like, hey, by the way, fucking I hate Anna Kasparian. Hey, by the way, I hate Jink. Hey, by the way, I hate so and so. Like, and then hoping that they're going to then reciprocate, and then they're going to generate more content, and then Kyle Kalinske is going to be like, I like both of you. This sucks. I got to make a video on this. And then immediately he's going to be like, Kalinski's a traitor. You see this? You see this traitor? This scumbag imperialist? Yeah, working for the CIA most likely. Yeah, they're all tools of the Democratic Party, every one of them.
The other people, they follow her lead. Just like Cenk Uygur, everybody else except me at the Young Turks went along with Russiagate at the top of their lungs. You don't think anybody else was skeptical? Of course they were. But they weren't going to say anything because they didn't want to lose their job or rock the boat. I didn't give a shit, so I did. But so
sorry, excuse me. I don't know how much, like, is there any truth to this? I wasn't watching Amy Goodman's coverage of Russiagate back in the day. Like, were they all obsessed? Were they all like Team Mueller? Were they like, Mueller is going to destroy Donald Trump and save us all? Like, that's the side, and the weird fetishization of Mueller that also, like, that's the side of the Russiagate that, Glenn Greenwald and a handful of people successfully did start calling out, and the hysteria that was surrounding it, right? Not that there wasn't, a whole bunch of, verifiable ties between contacts in Trump's campaign and contacts in Russia. Those things, like people like Michael Flynn actually got persecuted for this. So those parts of it, like, are the parts that, like, I don't think it's bizarre for people to have reported on or talk about that. I think it's bizarre that people went so far with Mueller. She wrote the Mueller time. It's Mueller time, and all this kind of stuff, where everyone was genuinely like, yeah, we're gonna destroy Trump. Yeah, I'm with her. Hillary will be instated as the president because reasons, and Mueller is like the new savior, and the FBI is super poggies, the CIA is super poggies too. Yeah, we're all team, like, fucking conspiracy. I mean, if that happened, I didn't know about that, but I guess the only people who were smart enough to avoid it was Jimmy Dore and Aaron Maté.
That's what I think. I don't think everybody at Democracy Now! Is corrupt and taking money. I'm saying there's something wrong with the head, Amy Goodman. There's something wrong with her, and there's something going on that she needs to explain. And the fact that she would
leave Amy alone. What the fuck are you talking about, Jimmy? Leave her the fuck alone. Jesus. Why are you doing this weird ass conspiracy shit for Amy Goodman, of all people? Like, do you not have any real enemies? Do you not have any real problems in the world that you gotta go after Amy Goodman? There's something going on at the top, at the highest levels. I don't know what it is. Why would she do this? Why would she say one thing while a concert was playing? No fly zones, Azov Battalion.
Ice you out, ice Glenn out, Stephen F. Cohen, and give unbelievable shit coverage and manufacture.
Because you're clowns. Like, she has a right to not platform the clown. Fucking, she doesn't have to put the circus on her show. That's a thing she's allowed to do. You don't, like, why? There's no other way of explaining the conspiracy as to why she refuses to have Glenn Greenwald on, refuses to have you on, has nothing to do with your credibility being fucking jack shit at this point. But hey, it must be something higher. It has to be a conspiracy at the highest levels, obviously.
Factor consent constantly.
Oh, there's that word again.
Needs to be explained.
I think she's made terrible editorial decisions, but I'm not going to call her corrupt. I just won't do that.
I'm saying it looks like corruption. I don't have any evidence. I'm saying what would be the...
Wow. Shred of dignity. Shredded dignity. I mean, you could go a little further and be like, this is absolutely absurd for you to be saying out loud right now, especially to be monetizing and putting out there as somehow even remotely factual, because you're saying absurd things. I would add that, but I guess, you know, as far as
she's not dumb. So that's the whole point. I know she's way smarter, and her whole thing.
Are you kidding me? Democracy Now! Interviews Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Glenn Glean. Oh, I'm too excited. Glenn. I'm just going to call him Glem. Okay, we're going to go with Glem. Interviews journalist Glem, says the two-pronged conspiracy theory that Donald Trump worked with the Russian government to win the 2016 election and was beholden to Vladimir Putin has been discredited by the Mueller report. What do you know? What do you know? Huh. So weird. So weird. But I thought you were the only one, Jimmy. I thought you were the only one who was successfully calling this out. And this would really destroy your whole conspiracy theory now, wouldn't it? But, you know, it still works as long as you never look into it. As long as you never do any research, you keep your plausible deniability that he loves. I don't really know. We didn't look, I haven't Googled it, but I assume this probably means that it's a conspiracy of the highest level. And that's why, you know, this old pothead broadcasting out of his garage is the only one telling the truth. The only one you should believe.
Aaron used to be
that and Glenn.
That they didn't care who called them names. They told the truth about foreign policy. But all of a sudden she started caring. Like
this one genuinely pisses me off. Fuck you, Jimmy. Like, goddamn. Like, it just feels like it's falsifiable in real time. B, it's like, once again, why does it always have to be a conspiracy theory? Like, the world is a lot more boring than you make it out to be. It's like, not only is this indicative that Amy Goodman has lost any sense of credibility, but on top of that, this has to be something operating at the highest levels of government. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Why would she not platform you? Why would she not platform me? Why would she not platform Glenn Greenwald? That can only mean one thing. I mean, that means, obviously, she is part of manufacturing consent, so she can't smash through the sound barrier. It's the only thing that makes sense.
That's another thing that doesn't make sense. So logic is going, there's nothing logical to her.
This is exactly like I was telling you, chat. Remember, I was like, it's so much harder. It's like pushing a boulder uphill if you actually want to make content that isn't like inflammatory, incendiary, like Jimmy Dore does. Because Jimmy Dore has found out a format that works. Like, why don't I just pick some other person on the left that I can now choose as a target? I'm going to start a drama cycle, going to do that drama farming, going to plant some little drama seeds. Hopefully it makes me some drama lettuce and vegetables and some legumes. And then on top of which, hopefully they will respond, because then we got ourselves, you know, some straight up back and forth. Then Kyle Kalinske can make a rap video about me, and then I'll make a rap video about him, and then he'll make a rebuttal to the rap video, and then it'll be a rap battle, and then we'll keep on doing that. It's time-honored tradition.
Getting this wrong.
People change. People listen to different people. You know, all sorts of things could be going on. And to me, it represents. It's so much more bigger than just, you know, one person. It's a broader trend in this country that we've seen through Russiagate. We saw how consent was manufactured, and it got to a lot of people. They used the fear of Trump.
How many times have they said consent was manufacturing consent in this? It's like fucking a 12-minute video. It's a 12-minute video. It got to be at least, what, 14, 15 times?
Trump to launder Cold War chauvinism and militarism, and it worked. That's what Russiagate was. It was a scam, and some of us had the critical thinking skills to see through it.
Why doesn't he attack Hassan? That is interesting. You're right, because Hassan has attacked him directly before. Well, I mean, he has attacked. Yeah, wait, what are we talking about? Yes, he has. He went off at him, and it was the worst thing ever. What was he saying? He was like, "What's with the painted nails? Why does he paint his nails? I don't know. It's kind of weird, you know, being a grown man and painting your nails. Kind of something girls do, you know? Weird. He would paint his nails.
Some of us didn't."
But after all, yes, maybe my consent was manufactured, so it's probably wrong for me. Probably wrong for me to talk about this. Man, Jimmy, leave Amy alone. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. All right, I'll take the clout fall here. Come on, you just direct all your hatred of Amy towards me, and then I can make the rap battle rebuttal, and then we can go back and forth, Jimmy, and then I can do it all for the clout, like one of your disciples has taught us all, Jackson Hinkle. You know, the Hinkle has told us. The clout, the clout, the clout. It's all about the clout. And only the clout. Forever the clout.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to conduct many a human sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble yet incompetent jesters, trying in vain to bring some levity into your life. To our Lord Trevor R., we give you thanks for this meager plot of land for us to toil away our pathetic existence. To our brave knights, Carl Wauer, Tony, D.M. Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Reuben Kelly, Brendan, Words Greenwood, Nate, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojak, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We salute our mighty heroes off to conquest some bread in some far-off land.